Hi there. This is the fourth video about making adjustments to my pants pattern in Affinity Designer 2. I'm still, of course, using the Cordelia pants pattern from the in-house Pattern Studio Pant Fitting Foundations course. The adjustments that I'm going to make today are adjustments that address contour shaping and posture and mainly involve the crotch seams. Firstly, I'm going to do an adjustment for a low seat, which is often called scooping the back crotch. I'm going to select the pattern piece. I'll zoom in, select my knife tool, and I'm going to cut a line horizontally at the crotch point level. Then I'm going to cut a vertical line which intersects the crotch seam at the bottom of the wedge of the hip level. This separate little piece can now be rotated and moved. So I'll select that area, and then I'm going to anchor it as close as I can to the crotch point, and then I'm going to be able to move it down and create that extra room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little block, which is the size of the adjustment that I want to make, which is 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to move this block to the area where I need it for the adjustment. So I'll move the little block across and I will position it so that I can see where I'm adding this space and be sure that I'm moving this rotated section down by the correct amount. So I've positioned the block and now I can rotate this piece that I cut until I have lowered it by exactly 3/8 of an inch. And then I can just delete the block or hide it. Right, now that I have this piece moved, I actually want to cut it down the middle again. So I'm going to cut a line across this piece, and then I'm going to select the top part, and I'm going to anchor it at a point where I want to pivot. And then I can rotate this top piece and line it up with my original front crotch seam. Now, of course, I want to merge these pieces, and to do that, I need to make sure that there are absolutely no gaps in between them, no white space. It doesn't really matter how much you overlap on the inside of the pattern, as long as these pieces do overlap. Then you can choose the 3 pieces and successfully say Layer Geometry Add, or right-click Geometry Add. Of course, you'll often find that you've got a whole lot of extra little nodes there that you can just get rid of. So do the best you can to tidy up the area that you just adjusted by deleting or moving nodes wherever necessary. The next adjustment is the rounded front crotch adjustment, also known as the rounded pubis adjustment, and it eliminates the smile lines that form in that area when the body is slightly more rounded than what the pattern is in that area. So once again, I'm going to select the pattern piece, choose my knife tool, and I'm going to go ahead and make a horizontal cut at the crotch seam point. Then I'm going to make a vertical cut which intersects the crotch line at approximately the point where it starts to curve. Now I have a piece that I can rotate downwards to allow for more rounding. I need to anchor it at the crotch point, and then I can rotate it. Once again, I'm going to draw a block, and this time the block is only 3/16 of an inch because I only need to make a very small adjustment in this area. So once I've drawn the block, I can zoom in. I do need to zoom in quite a bit, otherwise it's a little difficult to move this tiny block. And then I'll move the block across to where I need it to measure the amount of the scoop. So now I can adjust the cut piece and make sure that I've only lowered it by the 3/16 that I require. And then I can delete the block. Now I can select that piece again, and once again I'm going to make a cut line through it. Once I've cut it, I'll select the top portion and I will move the transform origin down to the pivot point. Then I can go ahead and rotate the top piece until it lines up with the original crotch seam. Now once again, I'm wanting to merge these three pieces together. But firstly, I need to make sure that there are no white spaces in between. Again, it doesn't matter how much they overlap, as long as they do overlap completely. And then I can select each of the three pieces and do my usual geometry and add to merge them. And there I've completed that adjustment. Now once again, if I zoom in, I'm going to see that there are a couple of little nodes that are bunching up in places and that may not be exactly where I want them to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and tidy that up as much as I can. So my next adjustment is going to be shortening the front crotch just to remove that excess fabric. Once again, I'm going to select the pattern piece and my knife tool, and I'm going to do a horizontal cut line just where the front crotch starts to turn, because that's where I normally pinch out the bagginess. I'm going to select this top piece and I'm going to move the transform origin to the side seam line, and now I'm able to rotate it to shorten the front crotch. For this adjustment, I'm again going to be using a very small block. I only need to shorten this by 3/16 of an inch, and once again I'm going to need to zoom in and just move this block to where I want to do the adjustment. Now I can go ahead and I can make sure that the rotation of my upper section corresponds with the amount that I need to overlap the section by. And then I can just delete the block. Once again, I'm going to select the two pattern pieces. I'll go right-click, Geometry, Add, so that I can merge them back into one pattern piece. And then I'll go back and I'll tidy up the nodes in the adjustment area. The final adjustment is a little more tricky. It's for when your pants fit well everywhere, but there's still some bunching at the top inseam just under the butt. This is caused by the torso of the body being a little too low and pushing down on the inseam. So we need to shorten the inseam a bit to give the body more room. So again, I'll select the two pattern pieces and I'm going to do a cut line, which is just below the thigh line on both of the pattern pieces. I now have 4 distinct pieces, and what I'm going to do with the top 2 is to recolor them, and then I'm going to duplicate them, Ctrl J, and then I'm going to recolor the duplicated pieces, and I'm going to work on them. So I'm going to start by moving the origin point to the side seam for both of them. Then I can rotate them towards the inseam, shortening the inseam by the amount that I need. Again, it's a very small adjustment that I'm making on this pattern, and it's only 3/16 of an inch. So I'm going to draw a long rectangle and I'm going to resize it to 3/16 of an inch high. And I'm going to move it up so that it is in line with where I made my cut line. I'm just zooming in a lot because it's very hard to effectively move small pieces if you don't zoom in enough. And what I'm going to do now is select the yellow piece and then just bring it up so that my overlap is only the amount that I require. In other words, just the 3/16 of an inch. And I'll do the same for the pants back. I'm just rotating this yellow piece so that it is only overlapped by 3/16 of an inch. Now I can delete the rectangle. And you can see, if you take a look at it, the purple is where my inseam was, and the yellow is where I've moved it to. So we've lowered it. We're happy with that, but we just want to bring our yellow pieces on top, just the top section of it, back in line with the purple. So what we do is we just slice off a little piece on each side. So I'm going to slice off here at the side front. I'm going to select that little piece that I sliced. I'm going to move the origin point down to the side seam. And then I'm going to rotate this piece so that it covers the purple piece exactly. And now I need to just drag the nodes on this so that they overlap to the other side. And I don't have any gaps because I want to merge this with the rest of the pattern piece again. Once again, it doesn't matter how much you overlap it by on the inside as long as you cover up all the gaps. So with both of them selected, I can once again right-click, Geometry and Add to put that back together. I'll do the same but opposite on the other side. So I'm going to slice the piece off again. I start the slice at the bottom where the two lines start to diverge. I'll select that piece. I'll move the origin point to the center crotch. And then I'm going to swivel that piece. I'm going to rotate it until it is exactly in line with the purple piece. Those two are overlapping, so I can just merge them. So right-click, Geometry, and Add. Now, of course, if you take a look at this, you're going to see that there are a few little issues with nodes bunching up here and there and so forth. So again, just go ahead and neaten up the nodes on the area where you've made the adjustment. Now I'm going to recolor this top piece to blue again. And I can select the two pieces, the top and the bottom section of the pants front. And I can just do the usual Geometry and Add to convert them back to one piece. And once I've done that, I have no use for the purple piece anymore. So I can just select it, click on it, and then delete it. And now we've lowered the front crotch and therefore shortened the inseam. This also actually ends up lowering the center front at the waistline. We're going to do the same thing on the pants back now. So I'm going to just align the purple and yellow parts. So what I do is just select the knife tool and I'm going to slice off the piece that is not aligned. I'm going to select that piece. I'm going to move the transform origin. And I'm going to line up this yellow piece with the purple piece. Because they are overlapped, I can simply select the other side and I can merge these two pieces in the usual way. And once again, I just need to neaten up whatever has happened with the nodes in the area where I did the adjustment. Now I'm going to go across to the side seam and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to slice off the piece that is not aligned. I'll move the transform origin to the side seam. And then I'm going to swivel this piece until it covers the purple piece exactly. And now I can just play with the nodes so that I close the gaps between the two pieces. And once I've properly overlapped these two pieces and there are no gaps in between, I can go ahead and merge them. And once again, I just need to take a look at the places where I see that there are a couple of nodes that are not in the right place, and I can straighten them out. Of course, I also do delete the purple section on the pants back because I don't need it anymore. Right, so we're just neatening up the nodes as much as we can. I'm not too concerned about it because we're going to completely neaten up the waist seam in a next step. Once again, I'm going to change the color to blue, and I'm going to merge these two pieces. If I left it yellow and I merged it, the whole pants back would be yellow. And then, of course, I just go and I sort the nodes out as much as I can. And that's the end of that adjustment. We have now lowered the front crotch and thereby shortened the inseam of the pants, allowing more space for the torso. In part 5, we're going to do the width and girth adjustments to the pattern. See you soon.